We shall commence this module by discussing the economy of India in brief. The economy of India is neither public nor private, but involves a blend of both of these sectors. Public sector or the government is required to guide, correct and supplement the private sector. The private sector or market system cannot accomplish all economic fluctuations alone, and hence public policy is formulated. Public finance deals with the financial happenings of the governments and public authorities. It describes and analyzes the expenses of the government and the techniques used by them to finance these expenditures. The public policy of the government is concerned about the problems of resource allocation, the distribution of income, full employment and price level stability coupled with growth. After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the importance of public policy, learn about the concept of public goods, identify the needs for provision of public goods, examine the causes of market failure in case of public goods and analyze the provision of public goods. Firstly, we will start the topic by understanding that why there is a need for public policy. The need for public policy is because of certain reasons which I am going to cite now. First of all, to provide a perfectly competitive factor and product market for private sector to attain efficient resource use. Secondly, in case of imperfect markets also, the government intervention is required. Thirdly, government also provides a legal structure that helps in the protection and enforcement of market arrangements and exchanges. Fourthly, certain goods such as public goods cannot be provided for through the market systems and hence require government intervention. And lastly, to secure objectives such as high employment, price stability and economic growth, we need public policy. Next, let us discuss the functions of public policy. The allocation function in budgeting determines on what government revenue will be spent. Because a high proportion of national income is now devoted to public expenditure, allocation decisions become more significant in political and economic terms. At all times and in all countries, the calls for expenditure on specific services or activities or for more generous transfer payments will always exceed the amount that can reasonably be raised in taxation or by borrowing. The allocation function of budget policy is concerned with the provision for public goods or the process by which entire resources are divided between private and public goods and by which the mix of public goods is chosen. After allocation function, next main function of public finance is distribution function. Distribution function means equitable and fair distribution of income and wealth. After distribution, next function is stabilization function. Stabilization function implies maintaining high employment, price stability and an appropriated rate of economic growth. Now, moving on to discuss the public goods. Public goods are products or services we all use. Because we all use them, each of us cannot be charged individually for them. The cafe you enjoy could really put a number on how much air conditioning you enjoyed during your visit, so the owners cannot fairly charge you for it. Public goods are typically financed by business owners or the government through tax revenues. When a public good is consumed, the amount left for others to consume is not reduced and it cannot be withheld from those who are unable to pay for it. Public good, also known as collective or social good, is a good that is both non-excludable and non-rival in consumption, that is, individuals cannot be successfully excluded from its use, and the use by one individual does not reduce availability for others. National defense, air, fireworks display, knowledge, street lighting, etc. are the examples of public goods. A fireworks display is a public good because it is non-excludable, that is, it is impossible to prevent people from observing it, and non-rival. One individual watching it does not reduce the accessibility of others as far as watching is concerned. Private goods, on the other hand, are both rival in consumption and excludable, and use by one individual reduces its availability for the other individual. Examples of private goods are apples, loaves of bread, personal car, house, etc. If X is a private good and there are two individuals A and B, then total consumption XC is the sum of each individual's consumption as far as private good is concerned. That is, in case of a private good, XC will be equal to XA plus XB. In case of public good, G, each individual A and B may consume all of the good. So, the total amount consumed will be the same for each individual, that is GC, that is the total public good, will be equal to GA, public good consumed by individual A, which will again be equal to GB, that is public good consumed by individual B. Let us now understand the characteristics of public goods. First characteristic is non-rival consumption. Non-rival consumption means the consumption of one individual does not reduce the benefits derived by all individuals. It implies that to derive the aggregate demand of the public good, individuals' demand curve must be added vertically rather than horizontally. This means that additional consumption of the good does not add anything to the costs of production. For example, an additional pedestrian on a well-lit street does not add to the cost of providing street lighting. The consequence of this is as follows. For allocative efficiency, anyone wishing to consume a good should be able to do so. However, charging for a public good means that some people wishing to consume the good will not choose or will not be able to do so. Hence, for maximum welfare, the price of public good should be zero. This means that public goods cannot be produced privately, since any profit is incompatible with the allocative efficiency. Next characteristic is non-excludability. It implies that if the good is provided, one individual cannot deny other individuals' consumption of the good. This means that it is not practical to exclude people who do not pay for a good from the benefit of receiving the good. Again, street lighting is a good example. It is impractical to set tall barriers around well-lit streets and charge people to walk down them. Other examples are defense and clean streets. Both of these are provided for everyone and everyone benefits from them regardless of who's pay for it. For example, NHS service and civil defense in United Kingdom is considered to be a public service being non-excludable, because when government spends money on civil defense, it brings protection and safety to the society or individual regardless of their contribution or non-contributions to the society. As they are non-excludable, therefore entry fee cannot be charged. These are provided free, and to exclude individuals would be very costly and impossible to stop once it has been provided. Now we will discuss the need for public provision of public goods. Public goods cannot be provided through the market system, that is, by transactions between individual consumers and producers. Public policy or budget policy of the government is required to produce these goods. There are two reasons why government is required for allocation of resources in providing public goods. First is market failure. This occurs when there is an efficient allocation of resources in a free market. Market failure can occur due to a variety of reasons such as monopoly, negative externalities, and public goods. Types of market failure are: firstly, if there are positive externalities, that is goods or services which give benefits to third party. For example, less congestion from cycling. Negative externalities are goods and services which impose cost on third party. For example, cancer from passive smoking. Next is merit goods. When people underestimate the benefit of a good, for example, education. Demerit goods, when people underestimate the costs of a good, for example, smoking. Public goods are goods which are non-rival and non-excludable, for example, national defense, police, etc. Monopoly power, when a firm controls the market and can set higher prices. Inequality, which means unfair distribution of resources in free market. Factor immobility, for example, a geographical or occupational immobility. Agriculture. Agriculture is also subject to market failure quite often due to volatile prices and externalities. These were various examples where market failure could occur. Market failure describes a situation where in any given market the quantity of a product demanded by consumers do not equate to the quantity supplied by the suppliers. The allocation of public goods by a free market is not efficient and thus leads to market failure. The existence of market failure is often the reason for government intervention in a particular market. The basic reason for market failure in the provision of public good is that the benefits of public goods give rise and are not limited to one particular consumer who purchases the good but become available to others as well. The market economy under certain conditions helps to secure an efficient use of resources in providing for private good, but in case of public goods it cannot function effectively since public goods have two main features, that is non-rivalry and non-excludability. First of all, let us discuss market failure due to non-rivalry, also known as non-rival consumption. Social goods, another name for public goods, are those goods for which consumption is non-rival. That is, they are goods where the consumption benefits does not reduce the benefits derived by the others. The same benefits are available to all and without mutual indifference. Efficient resource use requires that price equals marginal cost, but in this case marginal cost is 0 and so should be the price. In case of a public good like bridge which is not crowded, individual A's crossing will not interfere with that of B. Charging a toll would be quite feasible, but so long as the bridge is not heavily used, the charge would be inefficient since it would reduce the use of the bridge, the marginal cost of which is 0. But though the marginal cost of admitting additional user is 0, the cost of providing the facility is not. The cost must be covered somehow and it must be determined how largely a facility should be provided. So, provision of such a public good cannot be provided through the market and government intervention is required. Market failure due to non-extrudability. A second case of market failure arises where consumption is non-extrudable. A good or service is non-extrudable if consumers who do not pay for it cannot be prevented from accessing it. Non-extrudable goods will generally be underproduced and undersupplied in absence of government intervention. This is due to the fact that potential producers will not be able to realize a profit sufficient enough to justify the cost of production. In case of public good, there is another issue which is known as free rider problem. The free rider problem is when individuals benefit from a public good without paying their share of the cost. The free rider problem emerges in case of public goods where some individuals either consume more than their fair share or pay less than their fair share or pay less than their fair share of the cost of the public good. This happens because consumers cannot be excluded from the consumption benefits due to the non-excludability characteristics of public good. If everyone attempts to free ride, nothing will be provided and a free ride for everyone becomes impossible. This requires government intervention and a rationale for public policy. A commonly used example of the free rider problem is found in national defense. All citizens of a country benefit from being defended. However, individuals who evade taxes are still protected even though they did not pay for their fair share of the public good. Let us now discuss the provision of public goods. The provision of public goods for consumption depends upon, firstly, efficient resource allocation, that is, to produce at least cost what consumers want most and at a price also. Secondly, the procedure by which provision is to be achieved. If we compare provision of a public good with that of a private good to analyze the problem, it is necessary to compare the demand and supply diagram for public goods and private goods. Now consider the figure. The left side of the figure shows the market for a private good. DA and DB are the normal demand curves of two individuals, A and B. The aggregate market demand curve will be DA plus B and is obtained by horizontal summation of DA and DB, adding the quantities that individuals A and B purchase at any given price. SS is the supply curve and equilibrium is at point E where the market demand and supply curve intersects. Price equals OC in the diagram and the output OH is the output produced with OF purchased by A and OG by B, where OF plus OG will be equal to OH, which will be the total output produced. The right side of the figure shows a similar pattern for a public good. With the assumption that consumers are ready to reveal their preferences for the public good, respective demand curves for A and B are drawn. But the difference is that the market demand curve dA plus B for the public good is obtained by vertical summation of dA and dB, showing the sum of market prices which A and B are willing to pay for any given amount. This happens because both consume the same amount and the price is equal to the marginal preference. The total price includes the sum of prices paid by each to cover the cost of the service. SS is the supply schedule showing marginal cost for various outputs of the public good. ON is the total quantity consumed by both A and B. The combined price equals OK, but the price paid by A is OM, while that paid by B is OL, where OM plus OL will be equal to OK. Moving on to discuss the public or budgetary provision. The figure suggests that the provision of public goods might be implemented by the private sector through market forces, as in the situation of private goods. But this interpretation is misleading, as the public goods are provided without exclusion and consumers' preferences will never be revealed voluntarily. To overcome this problem, economists have defined efficient allocation for social goods in terms of a model. This model explains how a budget policy can reveal consumer preferences, that is, to tell the government what social goods should be provided and how this policy mobilizes resources to pay for them. This requires tax and expenditure decisions to be taken also. Voters are confronted with a choice among budget proposals which carry a price in terms of their own tax contributions. Now we will summarize what we have learnt in this module. The theory of public goods provide a rationale for the allocation function of public policy. Allocation of resources is a primary function of the government and it analyzes how scarce resources are distributed among public and private goods. Public goods exhibit the feature of non-excludability and non-rivalry. In the provision of public goods, private market fails to utilize resources efficiently. Public goods are frequently related to the free rider problem, in which people who do not pay for the good but may continue to access it, which results in underproduction, overconsumption and degradation of goods. Hence, the government intervention is required. The problem then is how the government should determine how much of such goods are to be produced. The difficulty lies in deciding the type and quality of a public good that should be supplied and how much a particular consumer should be asked to pay. In case of private goods, consumers pay for the benefits received, but the problem in case of public good is how these benefits are valued. Individual consumers have no reason to reveal to the government how highly they value the public service. To serve as an effective mechanism of preference evolution, voting process on tax and expenditure decisions could be taken. Thank you.